Hello, Chase Clyde here with the Utah Education Association. My role is Director of Government Relations and Political Action. So I'm on the lobby team that spends a lot of time up at the Capitol during the legislative session. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about how to track legislation and show you the UEA legislative tracking sheet where we track bills and pieces of legislation. So what you're going to want to do is go to the UEA website, and that's myuea.org. And what I've found is if you go to myuea.org/legislature, it will take you to the Under the Dome blog that UEA operates year-round, talking about political issues, but we are very active on this part of the website during the legislative session. So if you scroll down a little bit on this web page, you can see here we have a list of our legislative resources, including links to the legislative website, some of the education-related committees, as well as our legislative priorities, some information on the public education budget, some information on our Educator Day on the Hill, as well as looks like we have some old info here from the last legislative session, our legislative summary, and some other documents listed there. But for the purpose of this video, I'm really going to focus on the legislative tracking sheet. You can see right here, 2023. So we do have the 2023 tracking sheet live, which is awesome. But in a second, I'm going to refer to the 2022 tracking sheet so you can see some examples of legislation. This 2023 one, it has not been populated, as you can see, with bills because we don't have bills yet, but we will have plenty of bills, I promise, once the legislative session starts. I'm filming this at the end of December, and I think by mid-January, this document will be full of pieces of legislation. But I do just want to go over the formatting. You can see we have the UEA legislative team members listed here. Renee Pinkney, the president, Brandon Baca, the vice president, Jennifer Bamey, our executive director, Jay Blaine, Sarah Jones, and then me, Chase Clyde. We're kind of the three lobbyists that spend a ton of time up at the Capitol during the session. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hop over and refer to the 2022 legislative tracking sheet just as an example, because you can see here we have tons of bills from last year, and I'll kind of go over how we organize them and what some of our positions are, and as well as show you some of the live links that are attached to some of the bills. So what's important to note is, we use a lot of education speak and acronyms, and we try to make it as clear as possible. But obviously, if you have any questions, never hesitate to reach out to the team, and the emails are listed right here on the right side. So the way we organize this is we have a first page of highlighted bills. These are kind of the bills that are the hot topics of the legislative session, and then we just get into bills of interest. And as you can see, there are pages and pages and pages of bills of interest. So what we do first is we have a hyperlink to the actual bill, and that takes you to the legislative website. And I'm going to click on that in a minute. But in the meantime, I'm just going to show you that we also include on the tracking sheet the bill title, the bill sponsor, and then the UEA contact. The UEA contact is the person on the legislative team that has been assigned to take the lead on that particular bill. So you can see here, CC, that's Chase Clyde, SJ, that's Sarah Jones, JB is Jay Blaine. So you can see Kind of based on our areas of expertise, we assign bills, and that individual person is sort of the lead contact in dealing with that piece of legislation. We also include a brief description of the bill right here, and we list the UEA position right here. And that's important because I think a lot of folks use this tool to figure out where UEA is on a certain piece of legislation. It's important to note that as bills are amended or substituted, or as they go through the legislative process, things can change. We do our very, very best to keep this thing as updated as possible, but just keep in mind that during the legislative session, bills can go through many iterations, even in just one day, and we're constantly reassessing our positions on some of these bills based on changes to the actual bill language. So what I want to show you guys is the position key right here that I'm highlighting. This stuff is really important. We have positions of support, oppose. Sometimes we take the position of no position. We also sometimes will support a concept or oppose a concept. Sometimes we view pieces of legislation as unnecessary. Sometimes we talk about holding a bill for further study. Sometimes we recommend interim study, which is when a bill is studied over the interim. We also have the position of watch, local issues, and we also often will add comments on the side here, and occasionally we'll actually link to a full-on issue brief. So as you can see here, I've hopped back over to the 2023 one. This year, we're only going to be listing the UEA position on pieces of legislation and then including links to the comments. But I'll just, as an example, show House Bill 234. This was sort of a controversial bill that got a lot of attention last legislative session. And for a bill like that, we ended up having a full issue brief. And if you were to click on the issue brief right there, that would take you to the live issue brief, so you could review in depth the UEA position. On House Bill 396, we didn't have an issue brief on it, but we did have some brief comments, $64 million for educator-directed paid professional hours, and that was a bill that we supported. So maybe I'll use House Bill 396 as an example of where you can click on the hyperlink on the tracking sheet right here, and it's actually going to take you to the legislative website. So we, like I said, work very hard to keep this tracking sheet as up to date as possible. We're constantly making changes throughout the day, every day during the legislative session. And like I said, I'm filming this at the end of December, and I think by the middle of January, the 2023 legislative tracking sheet is going to start filling up with interesting pieces of legislation. So to circle us back to where we started, just remember you want to go to myuea.org/legislature and scroll down, and you can find access to all these different links, in particular the UEA tracking sheet. Well, thank you so much for sticking around through this video. And again, if you ever have questions, never hesitate to reach out to one of us on the legislative team. Thank you so much.